Hi readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I'm a little behind on this, but I actually started researching this list, at least a week ago, maybe longer, and I just didn't prioritize it over a few other things. But today I wanted to talk to you about anticipated releases for February of 2023. So yeah, it's already February 6th when I'm filming this. So what I am enjoying about these is that there's a mix of fiction and nonfiction, which I, of course, am kind of committed to this year. And there's a variety of genres, I would say. So that makes me happy too. Will I read every one of these? I don't know, but they're definitely all of interest enough to me that I decided to tell you about them. A lot of people are doing February new release videos. I've seen a couple that have one overlap from me, but I don't watch every one of them. So hopefully there's not too much overlap. Hopefully you're finding something new to consider, and maybe you'll read it and I'll read it and we can talk about it soon. So here we go. So the first three that I'm going to talk about actually released tomorrow on the 7th of February. The first one is nonfiction. It's called The Wise Hours by Miriam Darlington. And this book is about owls, nonfiction, written about her love of owls and her study of owls. Owls have been around for over 60 million years, which is incredible to me. And I am fascinated by owls. The book follows her journey through the British Isles. She ends up going to France, Serbia, Spain, Finland, searching for owls and researching them and documenting them. And in the meantime, her son, Benji, develops an illness that really creates a lot of stress and tension. And it isn't an obvious, I think, diagnosis at first. So this book really covers the mystery of owls, the fragility of life, and the resilience of life over time, as well as just a magnificence of these amazing creatures. I do think I would like to look at this sometime this year, because I do have this love of owls. And my mother, who passed away a number of years ago, was she both loved and feared birds in many ways. But I always say my mother comes to me, whether it's in memories or in feeling her presence, with birds. So I think this would be a good one for me to connect to her this month. And birds are known for being wise. So I'm curious about that too. Like, where did that come from? Maybe she'll talk about that. On a whole different tangent is The Love Scribe by Amy Myerson, which also comes out on the 7th of February. And this follows a character named Alice, and her best friend Gabby has gone through a breakup. And Alice writes her a little story about a relationship, I think, that she could have that might happen. Like, it's a fictional story. And what happens in the story absolutely comes true for Gabby. And so now there is, they've called her the Love Scribe, and I imagine people are asking for her to write them a love story that could come true. It sounds like a romp. I read more, I would say, in this genre last year than typically I have done. And I found that I was really starting to enjoy it. I don't have high expectations for them being anything but what they are. And I think that that's really helped me a lot. And over time, I've read some kind of love stories and romance stories, but I think that this one sounds very fun and it has a different twist on it. So I like that. The next one is The House of Eve by Sadeqa Johnson. She was in the booktube scene last year, I think, for her novel Yellow Wife. And now she has a new one that also comes out on February 7th. It's a dual timeline. 1950s Philadelphia. Ruby Pearsall is headed to college, and she has a taboo love affair while she's there. And then Eleanor Quarles is in D.C. She meets William from Howard University and falls madly in love with him. However, William is from an elite Black family, and Eleanor is not. And so there's a bit of a collision, and their stories intermesh some way, and I'm not sure how. And I don't know that it's a dual timeline. It may be the same timeline, but it follows different women. Now that I say that, I think that that might be what it is. But there's a connection between Ruby and what's her name? Eleanor. And I really think that this sounds fascinating, and it is getting good reviews, and it is getting a lot of attention. Yeah, I would like to. And if this is if something I pick up, this would be my first read by this author. So the next one I want to talk about is results from my almost lifelong love of Edgar Allan Poe. I was introduced to Poe at a young age because my sisters enjoyed Edgar Allan Poe a lot. And I am of a certain age, so he probably had a little bit more of a following than he maybe does now. But this one is called The Mystery of Mysteries, and it's by Mark Dawidziak. Goodness, I can't even read my writing. I'll put it in the description box so you can find it. It comes out the 14th of February. But this is a biography of Edgar Allan Poe, and it really focuses on he died at an early age. He died at the age of 40, and it really focuses on this mysterious couple of demented almost days that he had at the end of his life. And there were lots of speculations about why he was experiencing this period of time where he was delirious and very distressed. And I have always been curious about that myself. So I'd like to see Mark Dawidziak. I'd like to see Mark's take on that. Goodness sake. So that one, like I said, comes out on the 14th. And yeah, I think that's going to be a definite nonfiction read for me this year. The next kind of buzz date for February is the 21st. So there's a couple that I've got my eye on that come out on the 21st. One of them is I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Mackay. This one is most anticipated by NPR, and I've seen people, the reviewers from Time Magazine, USA Today, and others. So it's really up there in the big leagues with the folks who are reading it and reviewing it. So there's that. And that doesn't always mean I'm going to love an author or a book, but this one follows a podcaster named Bodie Kane. She had a really difficult upbringing and growing up through her adolescence in particular, and she was at a boarding school for a lot of that time, and she did not have a good experience there, and her roommate was murdered while she was at boarding school. So she returns to the school. She's, I think, a film professor, and she's returning to academia. And there's always just sort of been this uneasiness about this particular murder, and this sense that it was the conviction of this person for this murder was debatable. And so I think as a podcaster and as a film professor and maybe going back to school, she's going to revisit this experience, and it sounds delightful. The next one is The Writing Retreat by Julie Bartz, and I actually have pre-ordered this. This is my book of the month selection. I have been anticipating this one since I learned about it in December. So this follows a character named Alex who is not getting published as an author, and she receives an invitation from a horror writer who's very famous to come to a writing retreat that she is creating and sponsoring for other writers. And this must be important because the synopsis says her former best friend is invited too. But the goal is for them to write a novel in just a month, but they don't know that until they get there. So they all have to crack down and really get going on this. And the best one will receive a 7-figure publishing deal. So I think that there's it's billed as claustrophobic, dark, propulsive, and unputdownable. So it was my book of the month selection for sure. And then the last one, which comes out on the 28th, so closer to the end of the month, is called The Secrets of Hartwood Hall by Katie Lumsden. This is a gothic horror novel where a woman takes a position as a governess in Victorian England. She's a widow, and she joins this home and discovers there are strange figures in the dark and parts of the home that are shut off, and I'm sure noises and all kinds of different things, as you can imagine. And she actually starts a relationship with the gardener, which sounds very familiar to another novel. Let's see if you can tell me in the comments below which one you think that might be. And there's probably more than one. So it does sound like a familiar plot. For that reason, I'm not immediately going to seek it out. And I'm going to kind of watch what people are saying about it on Goodreads and other places just to see how that one plays out. But again, The Secrets of Hartwood Hall by Katie Lumsden. And it comes out on the 28th of February. So those are my kind of top February releases that really caught my eye. Again, there's tons of other videos that you can watch that have a number of them featured as well. So take a look for February new releases, and hopefully I'll come back with March's new releases a little sooner than I did this time. But enjoy. I hope you enjoy, and I hope that you are taking a look at some of these as well. And if you have or plan to, let me know that in the comments below. And as always, happy reading. Bye.